If it has a score, we cover it more. From football to lacrosse, hockey to baseball, we've got what you want. Welcome to the Rod Pedersen Show.
Good morning, Canada. Welcome to the Rod Pedersen Show. Canadian sports fans around the world, you're welcome too. Welcome to hour one of what John Lynch says is everybody's favorite sports talk show. I know this for a fact. Canada's only live morning sports show coming to you from the bunker in a field out here in Western Canada. I'm Rod Pedersen, as the man said. He's Darren DuPont, the co-host. Good morning, Dupes.
Good morning.
Happy Friday.
Yes.
You ready for Football Friday?
I'm excited.
We're a team. I'm Crosby. He's Malkin.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Crosby
That's a
and
good team.
That's a great team.
And Lynch would be...
As long as we don't got Kessel, I'm good.
He was Phil Kessel a couple of years ago. I tell you what, yesterday was a ton of fun as we delved into a lot of the hockey issues across the land, but it really, something jogged in my mind when former CFL players and coaches were watching in the U.S. and were writing in with their comments on football stuff. I'm like, we really got to get to the football.
Yeah.
And fortunately, we are only a day away from Football Friday, and that's where we are. On the marquee board, if you haven't seen it on our Instagram and Twitter, obviously, John Frenzian here, Hall of Fame writer, broadcaster. Dave Naylor, CFL on TSN insider. James Wilder Jr., one of the big names in the Canadian Football League, asked for his release from the Argos on Monday. Got it. And now we'll find out what's next. Maybe he'll tell us today.
That'd be nice.
And a former NHLer, big name. He's big anywhere.
Yeah.
John Scott. John Scott will be with us on the program. And so it's going to be a lot of football, but there will be some hockey. There's a lot of hockey in the province here tonight. It was U.S. Thanksgiving yesterday, Yanksgiving, as really only our sales guy, Tyler, is the only guy that calls it that, right?
That I know of.
But he sure loves it.
Yeah.
The CFL free agent list came out yesterday. As we've found out, it might be minus a couple of names that should have been on there. We'll be delving into that. I went through and wrote out all the quarterbacks. I think I left my list at home, but that's okay. I can go off the top of my head. 13 quarterbacks that I saw on there. 14th would be Matt Nichols, but his name was not on there.
I noticed that too, and I thought he was a free agent.
Right. So we're going to get into that. And I want to talk a little Schooners, little CFL 2.0, and Mike O'Shea as we sit here and wait. I think Mike O'Shea is a big domino waiting to drop for a lot of people. I'll just say one last thing. Dallas Cowboys lost at home yesterday in the middle of the triple header to the Bills, 26-15. I didn't see a lick of the game. As you know, I was in Moose Jaw speaking to the high school and the Peacock Tornadoes football team on mental health, substance abuse prevention. You were at Agribition. You were doing your thing. I missed the game.
I saw it.
Of course you did. You're retired. Lucky you. So were the Cowboys as bad as it seemed?
Yes, they were terrible.
Okay. Thank you for that, Lynch. So let me just say this. Jerry Jones addressed the team in the locker room just to get this Football Friday off on the right foot. He was in the room before the team got in there. Have you followed any of this coverage?
And that's never a good thing.
That's not a good thing.
Yeah, but nothing's happened.
Not yet. He addressed the team. There was yelling to be heard. The reporters that were on the outside of the wall waiting to get in, they heard the screaming, and it wasn't just Jerry Jones. Michael Bennett was one of the guys that was yelling at his Cowboys teammates. Yeah. And when the doors opened and Jones emerged, he'd been crying. And actually, a reporter asked him about this. He's like, Jerry, you have tears in your eyes. What's going on? And then he basically explained, this is how much they love football in Dallas. And you're right, Lynch. So they come out of New England last week, week 12, and lose. And he's basically throwing his coach under the bus. And you understand, I watch ESPN every morning, right? So, and the Cowboys are really all they talk about.
Yeah.
They interviewed Jason Garrett on Wednesday, the day before the game. He goes, I haven't talked to Jerry all week since the Patriots game.
Yeah. Wow.
And then they lose in kind of embarrassing fashion to the Bills, because the Bills are who we thought they were. They really are.
Well, they're 8-3 now, guys.
I don't care.
Yes, you do.
In Dallas, Thanksgiving, you don't lose.
That's right.
And the Cowboys are now 6-6. And now Jerry's supporting his coach and says there won't be. That's my point.
He did.
You got to see that team, guys. They're just not that good. They're not putting out for the coach. Jerry Jones, what's his name? Jason
Garrett
has to go. He's a nice guy.
He does have to
run
go.
the Dallas Kinsman Club. He'd be wonderful doing it. He's a nice guy. He's a great friend of Jerry Jones. I know they're great personal friends.
Were.
Holy God.
They were.
The fans in Dallas are going nuts over it, and I don't blame them. That team's not putting out for you.
Yes.
All you have to do is look at it. Watch the game. You can see it.
Jerry Jones did say, he said, we're not a championship contender without Jason Garrett. He backed the coach.
Right. Flip-flop from 5 days before,
Somebody
4
else,
days before.
What is that, the NFC East?
Yeah.
And somebody else said...
They're still first in the division.
Yeah, I know. Somebody else mentioned that the NFC East shouldn't be allowed a playoff spot this year. That's how bad the division is.
Well, it is a crappy division.
But you know what? The AFC South, where my Titans are, have gone through that for a number of years.
The
too.
NFC West was the same.
Yeah.
I think the team that won it had a losing record a few years ago.
Yeah, it all happens. But, they're still top of the division. And it's funny, even, what were they, 6-5 coming in?
They're 6-6 now.
Going into the week. At 6-5, people are saying, are the Cowboys still Super Bowl contenders? Not talking about the Titans who are 6-5. They're not talking about other teams who are above 500 unless you're 9-2, 10-1, right?
Yep.
But for some reason, that keeps getting attached to the Cowboys. So somewhere they believe that they still have a shot if they get in.
What do your Titans have this weekend?
They got Indianapolis, huge division game. And they're in a good spot right now, trailing Houston, which we're going to see next week, which I'm excited about seeing the Texans. They play Houston twice down the stretch, so they got an opportunity to win the division just one game back.
So moving on from the National Football League, we'll update those games and scores later to the CFL, because that's why I think people tuned in today. It is Football Friday, after all, and this is the rollout for Flooring Superstores. Big CFL fans over there. Of that list of free agent quarterbacks that did not include Matt Nichols, I'm awaiting an email from the CFL to say we oopsed and meant to put Matt Nichols on there. I amended a poll because I put it up this morning. Top 4 free agent quarterbacks I had on the list: Nick Arbuckle, Zach Caleros, Jeremiah Masoli, and Chris Strevler, because Nichols wasn't on the list. And all of a sudden I got a flood of response from Winnipeggers. We're friends with them now, don't you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
And they're like, Rod, no, he wasn't on the list, but he is a free agent. And I'm like, I can only go by what I get from the CFL. And I still haven't seen an amendment, but I've changed it. I've changed the poll.
Well,
so the poll is now the top 4 most. Who is the most coveted free agent CFL quarterback? And thank you, Clark, for putting it on the screen. These are the Facebook respondents. You look at the numbers. 50% say Jeremiah Masoli. 23% say Nick Fatty Arbuckle. 13% say Matt Nichols and Chris Strevler. That's on the Facebook poll. Twitter pretty much reflects that. It's been up a little longer, that poll. Jeremiah Masoli has 70% of the vote. Now, there are 14 free agent quarterbacks in all. That's a ton. And it's not a bunch of Rudy Poos, Lynch. Not a bunch of Morley boys.
No, good boys.
Brandon Bridge. Man, I left the dang list at home. But it's guys that have started games. There's some guys that you don't know: Danny O'Brien, Logan Kilgore.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting list. Zach Caleros didn't make our top 4. Would he be ahead of Matt Nichols, even though he won the Grey Cup this year? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know either. Would he be ahead of Chris Strevler or Arbuckle? I don't know.
We're
going to find out in free agency.
I'd say yes, he will be. A guy and a team, by the way, guys, can really improve themselves if they get one of these guys. There's free agents available. They'll make a team stronger at the quarterback position. Let me put it that way.
Of course.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And it'll be interesting to see which domino there falls first. I know Hamilton said they have interest in Jeremiah Masoli and bringing him back, but what does that do for Dane Evans, who had a great season? And same thing in Winnipeg. They want to open up conversations. Apparently the negotiations have begun with Matt Nichols. So, where does that go? And for Nick Arbuckle, I mean, what a year! He did so good in replace of Bo Levi Mitchell that he had people questioning if the Stampeders needed Bo Levi back. Mm-hmm. So it's very intriguing.
Last year than Bo Mitchell did. Well, you're both shocked. How about that? I get shocked.
I'm not actually shocked. I'm just calling up my Facebook for the show because the string isn't working here, so I'm trying to get the fan comments. You're saying who outplayed Bo Levi? Fatty Arbuckle or who? Yeah? Well,
I think Fatty Arbuckle played better than Bo Mitchell last year in Calgary.
I'm not disagreeing with you. And Bo didn't get it done in the playoffs either. How hard did the Stampeders try to keep Arbuckle? That's a good question. Jack in Calgary's already written in on the Facebook wall. That's why I'm trying to get to Facebook comments, because I want to know what the viewers are saying this morning. Jack, who's affiliated with the Stampeders, said of that group, Fatty Arbuckle has the highest upside. And again, we're going to find out here in free agency whom the GMs think is the most coveted of those guys. Because I think, frankly, I would have put Arbuckle up there. Man, he looks sharp. As a matter of fact, as you guys know, isn't he 9 in Calgary, number 9?
Yeah.
When he came in and replaced Bo that day that Bo was hurt, we thought it was Bo.
Yeah.
Because that's how good he was.
Yeah.
And like, wait a minute, that's 9, not 19.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's how poised he is, how good of an arm he is, how mobile he is. I'm with Jack. I'm a little surprised that Arbuckle isn't higher in the ranking. Maybe it's name recognition. Like politics, when people go behind the curtain to vote, they a lot of times they vote for the guy that they know the name, or girl. They know the name. Yeah. People know the name Jeremiah Masoli. Maybe that's why he's the runaway winner this morning. Yeah. But maybe don't ask the question when you're voting, who's the most popular? Pretend that you're the GM. Don't you all like to do that anyways? If you're the GM, who would you want to sign the most? Should I have worded it that way? The way I worded it was, who's the most coveted free agent quarterback in the CFL? I think that covers it, doesn't it?
It's Jeremiah Masoli, big time.
You think so?
Oh, I'm signing Jeremiah Masoli. Excuse me. The injury does concern me a little bit, and the risk of re-injury, that does concern me. But he was far and away the most outstanding player in the CFL when he got hurt. Mm-hmm. He was. He had Hamilton. Now, they were able to win without him, so they got a good guy behind him, and they've got a good coaching staff, and they've got a good defense over in Hamilton, and so they were able to get to the Grey Cup without him. But I still think what he was able to do, unbelievable. But again, the coaches, the GMs, they can assess this a little bit different than I can, because they're in the playbooks every day. They're in the film rooms every day. So they would know, okay, well, how much did that offensive line play a factor? Brandon Banks and the receivers. How much did the defense play a factor to propping up Jeremiah? But the season he was having, and if I need a shot to the arm, and I'm Ottawa or Toronto, Jeremiah Masoli would be a great addition.
He'll be highly sought after. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and it depends on the coach too of the team. Like if Mike O'Shea ends up in Toronto, who does he like as a coach? Wherever Paul Lapalisse, or as a quarterback, wherever Paul Lapalisse ends up, who does he like as a quarterback? What quarterback would fit his style, or somebody that he'd be interested in? I think that's important. I kind of feel like, and we've got a long time to get to what's it, the middle of February, 13th of February, or something like that, when it is usually free agency. The coaching dominoes have to fall first. And you need to fit the players, either players to the coach or the coaches, to fit the players.
So this annoys me considerably. Somebody's written in here. I'm trying to follow these Facebook comments through my own laptop. Somebody said Hamilton had better get Dane Evans re-signed pronto. I'm paraphrasing. I just went to the list. Dane Evans is not on the Hamilton Tiger Cats list of free agents. Here it is. Wayne and Victoria. Hamilton better re-sign Dane Evans or he'll be the number 1 free agent next year. Oh, I gotcha. Okay. So this is all... Is it as confusing as I'm making it out to be?
Well,
or not?
Probably
Dane
not.
Evans,
Probably
Hamilton
not.
can't afford to keep both, can they? Dane Evans and Zane.
Financially, you mean?
They can't afford to lose them. They can't afford to keep them, right?
Yeah.
You see that all the time in pro sports. You can't have a guy who just won you got you to a Grey Cup and who's ready to go, and now tell him, wait a second, you're not good enough anymore. You're now our number 2. So they bring in Masoli, who's the number 1, and the people who believe you can't lose your job to injury and all that kind of stuff. That's one side of it. But Dane Evans wants to play. And so you're going to end up, you don't want to end up with a Jimmy Garoppolo situation in New England where, Tom is almost done. Okay, you're next.
Yeah.
But, Tom, it's not happening. It's not happening. It's not happening. Finally,
so
it's like, I got to play.
Guess where he went right there.
Exactly. He thinks he's got to go play. And Dane Evans is going to think the same thing.
He's spectacular there, by the way.
Breaking news. Where's the breaking news graphic, guys? I know you'll find it from TSN and Sportsnet. Bill Peters is no longer head coach of the Calgary Flames.
They fired him.
He gone.
All right.
Oh, boy. Woo-hoo. That'll be that controversial thing at the top.
Yeah, and it's not like you can't get coverage of that on every other sports network in Canada for the next 24 hours. So We'll be the first to tell you here on Facebook Live that Bill Peters is no longer the coach.
For something that happened 20 years ago.
10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Of the Calgary Flames. And obviously, Jeff Ward will take over. And it looks like he's a damn fine coach, as it is. So,
and a popular guy in that locker room, apparently, too.
Yeah.
Which is great. But here's, to me, with the Bill Peters is putting a bow on this and kind of maybe
quickly
moving on. Clearly, in their investigation, they found out that this was an ongoing thing. Something that they're not comfortable with keeping tied to the organization, and he hasn't shown that he's changed. Simple. If the guy had shown that it was a thing that happened 10 years ago and he's evolved and he's changed, then we move on.
What do you mean he's changed? They don't know what he's doing daily. You mean, is he changed now?
Changed as a person.
They've obviously interviewed him and sat him down and said, yeah, are you the same guy, Bill, as you were 10 years ago?
And
how would we know?
Other things that have happened throughout that time too. And
it's been a week-long investigation.
And if a guy has changed and people have seen it, then they're not coming up with these allegations against it. It's not happening.
Well, that's your opinion. If some people have a hard-on for him, he's going to bring it up.
Awkward.
Yeah.
Moving on. And back to the football thing, by the way. So I'm enjoying the coverage of what's going on. Farhal Lalji is just crushing it. CFL Insider Information.
Yeah.
Now, I'm having a tough time keeping up, but I saw somewhere that Farhan had tweeted that the Alouettes have asked the Blue Bombers for permission to talk to Danny McManus about their general manager job. Ottawa GM Marcel Desjardins has asked for permission to talk to the Ticats, Mark Washington and Tommy Condell, their coordinators, about their head coaching job. And for me, it's a whole lot of just hire the guy, call a news conference, and let us go. But on the other side, it is news. We always bitch about this. We don't want the secrecy, so I get that. But what is there not something to be said for just going and hiring your guy? I'm talking about the pomp and circumstance, the pageantry, the dog and pony show that is hiring coaches. It's not just the CFL. NFL is the same. Mm-hmm. Do you like this, Lynch, or not?
Yeah, I do. And I think the one that really intrigues me is, and I want to get you guys' opinion, who is going to become the BC Lion head coach?
It's a good question.
A damn good question.
So hang on. I apologize. This is another day where this is going to fly by. Yesterday's show felt like it was 5 minutes long. You see this very nicely worded message on the screen here? Wrap up now. This is the rollout for Flooring Superstore. We're just scratching the surface of what we do here. Do we have a guest next? Is that why we got to get out? All right. David Naylor up next from the CFL on TSN. We'll talk about all these things. It's a Football Friday on the Rod Pedersen Show on Facebook Live and listen live at rodpedersen.com.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of the Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.